take a teardrop, drop.
There's something inherently horrifying about the idea of an alien species taking over, but the whole ordeal just becomes 1,000 times worse when your kids are involved. This terrifying idea is essentially the core of Peacock's latest sci-fi release, Teacup, which began streaming just a couple of weeks ago. The series is based on the horror novel Stinger, written by Robert R. McCammon, and depicts the tale of a young boy, Arlo, who accidentally becomes the host of a dreadful alien entity that seems to be gradually corrupting the kid. The first 2 episodes of the series were extremely intriguing and managed to set up a pretty compelling horror thriller that got genre fans pretty hyped up. The story takes place in rural Georgia, and the creators were certainly able to get the tone right. After the mysterious entity enters Arlo after he gets lost in the forest, his family begins to notice that their boy is not quite there. He begins to speak in indecipherable tongues, and the writers of the show never actually reveal whether the creature inside Arlo is good or evil. By the end of the 2nd episode, Arlo begins to believe that the being inside him is good, but it's still far too early to tell for sure. Now, since the 3rd and 4th episodes of the series were just dropped a couple of days ago, we have decided to do a complete breakdown to better understand the strange development. Also, make sure to stick around till the very end because we will also be taking a look at that weird ending and its lasting consequences. Now, without further ado, let's go. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
Stop! Let go!
Kill!
Arlo, stop! You're hurting!
Trapped! I'll die!
Teacup Season 1, Episodes 3 and 4, Quick Plot Overview, The Alien Inside. In Episode 3, titled Quite For No Reason, it begins with Arlo introducing his sister, Meryl, to the mysterious alien entity living inside of him. The boy states that he has named the creature Harbinger, and upon further probing, the alien reveals that a great disaster is imminent. Harbinger repeatedly insists that the kids are trapped and an assassin is on his way to murder them all. Though Meryl is extremely confused, Arlo is able to convince her, and she decides to follow the strange alien living inside her brother. The creature leads Meryl to follow Harbinger into a forest, where they come upon a small crater. Harbinger informs his new friends that this is where he made his first contact with Earth, and shows them the remnants of some kind of iridescent liquid in the area. He states that he arrived on Earth via spaceship, and instructs Arlo to collect the glowing liquid into a small jar the boy is carrying. Harbinger also informs the siblings that the liquid is toxic and, could cause death when consumed in small quantities. But when taken in small doses, the liquid would allow humans to cross the line drawn by the man in the mask, the suspicious lieutenant. Meanwhile, Arlo's mother, Maggie, seems to be having some trouble of her own. After Maggie finds Carmen's body in the forest, it's revealed that the Harbinger was living in Carmen's body before he entered Arlo. Upon closer inspection, Maggie notices that Carmen's hands had been tied up with cable ties. Make a note of this because we're going to come back to these cable ties in a while. Well, after returning home, Ellen and Valeria introduce Maggie to Lieutenant Olsen. Though Maggie has already developed some doubts regarding the officer, her feelings are further enhanced when she sees that he's carrying cable ties. Yeah, it's the same kind that Carmen was tied up with, see? We told you. Even more suspicious is the fact that Olsen can easily cross the blue line, something that everyone else seems to be struggling with. He informs the group that he had been tasked with tracking down Carmen as he had received multiple complaints regarding the girl's erratic behavior. He claims that she had run away from home and seems pretty certain of the fact that she had something to do with all the strange occurrences in their town. He tells Maggie that if anyone had come in contact with Carmen before her passing, they could stand a chance of being infected. All these troubling revelations almost cause Ellen to burst out and reveal the truth about Arlo's condition, but Maggie manages to lead the conversation elsewhere. However, when the officer expresses a strong desire to meet Arlo, Maggie is forced to take some pretty extreme measures. She entices the lieutenant to the barn by pretending that Arlo is in there, and then takes advantage of the situation to knock Olsen out. Believing that he would be more likely to give honest answers when put under pressure, she begins to threaten him, but the lieutenant doesn't budge. He demands to meet Arlo and repeatedly states that he is running out of time. the possession of Ellen. Maggie is further enraged by Olsen's ambiguous responses and asks Ellen to stand guard. Though Ellen clearly has the upper hand and a shotgun, the stranger is successful in persuading her to clean the blood around his eyes. Unable to stop herself from helping him, she stepped closer, only to realize that she had made a horrifying mistake. A mysterious alien emerges from Olsen's body and enters Ellen's, taking complete control of all her facilities. Olsen seems to recollect nothing from before the transfer, while Ellen's complete demeanor shifts into something much more terrifying. This ending also proves that the alien within Arlo wasn't the only one to land on Earth, and even calls into question all of Harbinger's claims. These new developments leave our protagonists in a very precarious position, with Ellen completely in control under the menacing alien. She seems to have turned into a completely different person with no traits of her familiar self. Olsen, now completely free of the alien's control, seems to have completely forgotten his time as the host. Before he can even comprehend what's going on, Ellen shoots the lieutenant in cold blood. The Masked Man and Harbinger. On the other side of town, Arlo, Meryl, and Nicholas finish collecting the liquid from the crater and begin the journey home. Out of nowhere, they come across the Masked Man, who instructs them to stick within the marked line. Soon, his attention shifts to the strange glowing liquid the kids are carrying, and he asks them to hand it over immediately. When the kids deny his request, he rushes towards them to snatch the jar. Nicholas, who happens to be carrying the jar at the moment, tries to avoid the Masked Man, but falls down to the ground, smashing the container into pieces during the struggle. Nicholas procures a dagger and manages to stab the Masked Man. Meryl rushes forward to help out and tries to control the bleeding by putting pressure on his wound. This is when the kids realize that the Masked Man can breathe even without the mask, and he turns out to be a normal guy. Though the group initially believed that the mask was designed to protect the Masked Man from toxic air, this revelation suggests that the mask is designed to prevent alien entities from entering a man's body. The Masked Man reveals that he's actually an ally named McCammon, and somehow, Harbinger seems to recognize the guy. Harbinger remembers how he encountered McCammon back when he was inhabiting Carmen's body. McCammon had tried to protect the alien even back then, but after Carmen's demise, maintaining communication had become impossible. The Curious Case of James and Ruben. Well, I guess the only people left to account for are James and Ruben, who set out on their horses to check on their neighbors Edward, Carmen, and Ryan back in episode 3. Upon entering their neighbor's space, the two men split apart to cover more ground. Ruben checks the storeroom while James enters the barn. Even a quick glance at the place reveals that something has gone very wrong. James discovers Edward's body and grabs the shotgun lying beside the corpse. Soon, we discover that Ryan too has suffered a similar fate. Upon hearing a noise in the basement, James decides to head down, but he's suddenly ambushed along the way. Now, usually, we would have found something like this considerably scary, but well, it's episode 4, and we're all sort of used to it by now. We also learn that the basement is occupied by a mysterious young man in a mask, but we literally know nothing about this individual. At the end of episode 4, we are, however, presented with an even stranger discovery that might actually be one of the most significant additions to the show's lore so far. As Ruben enters a dark room, he comes face to face with an iridescent tree, and the thing just doesn't seem right. It feels like an otherworldly creation that seems pretty unnatural inside the quaint Georgian farm. I mean, it's certain that it was the aliens who put the glowing tree inside, and we are all equally confused about the exact purpose of the thing. In any case, if the littered bodies are any evidence, whatever the aliens are up to can't really be good. Though episodes 3 and 4 makes a lot of significant additions to Teacup's story and lore, it also leaves a bunch of questions unanswered. Despite the slow burn pace of the opening, it seems like the show is finally picking up, and we couldn't be more excited about the next releases. For the most part, our protagonists seem completely trapped in this hellish situation. However, there were also some positive developments that might finally reveal the alien's true intent. And of course, there's the mysterious case of Harbinger, who might just turn out to be the greatest ally or maybe the worst one. Yeah, things can be pretty confusing right now, but don't worry because we are here to analyze that ending and break it down for you. Teacup Season 1, Episodes 3 and 4, Ending Explained. For the first couple of episodes, things were way more complicated and intriguing than we could have handled. Fortunately, these two new installments have managed to shine some much-needed light on these strange occurrences. And although some of these developments might seem minor at first glance, that's exactly what the writers want us to think. Thus, we, at Marvelous Videos, will not be taking any of these clues lightly, starting with Harbinger's shocking revelation. So, in Harbinger's case, it's becoming increasingly evident that the alien is a bit different from the others of his kind. After the incident with Ellen, we can be completely sure that there are indeed more aliens running loose on our plane. Ellen's actions also prove that not many of them are as tolerant as Harbinger and might cause some serious harm if left unchecked. Though it will be pretty premature to draw conclusions at this point, it's undeniable that the guys have started winning us over. After all, the alien that took possession of Ellen seems far more ruthless than Harbinger, who hasn't really harmed Arlo at all until now. It seems like Harbinger is also a bit removed from the rest of his kind, perhaps due to some past differences with the other aliens, or maybe we're all just wrong and this is all a ploy to gain humanity's trust. But whatever the reason, one thing is for sure, Arlo is going to be stuck with his new friend for much of the foreseeable future. The second major development in these new episodes is the revelation regarding the Masked Man. For a long time, we believed the Masked Man to be the mysterious assassin who had been sent to kill Arlo and his family. However, now we know that the Masked Man is not some kind of extraterrestrial entity, but just a normal man trying to do the right thing. It's also extremely evident that McNabb, the Masked Man, shares a special relationship with Harbinger, which makes things even more entertaining. This could finally explain why the Masked Man could cross over the blue line so easily, as he's been in contact with the alien for a longer period than most other characters on the show. Moreover, it's pretty likely that Harbinger instructed McNabb to consume the iridescent liquid, just as he did with the kids. We think that McNabb will be a key figure in getting Arlo's family to safety, as he has already traveled beyond the line. Though McNabb's motivations aren't completely clear, he does seem like a pretty nice guy, and we're pretty sure that he will play a pivotal role in Teacup's story going forward. On the other hand, we're also extremely anxious and worried about James and Ruben, who seem to have walked into something way darker than expected. Not only are we faced with a seemingly unstable man in the basement, but there's also that damn tree. Though the tree is extremely fascinating, it might just be a sign of the troubles ahead. Some fans have predicted that the tree could be the central node responsible for controlling humans, while others think that it could be a portal responsible for getting the aliens there. Though both these scenarios are equally likely, we can't really make any concrete claims until the next episodes come out. This wait is going to kill us, even if the aliens don't. Marvelous version. Well, despite only 4 episodes, Teacup has managed to tell a pretty promising story that will undoubtedly keep the audiences coming back. There are far too many mysteries and aliens in this show, and if you're a fan of spooky alien stuff, go check it out. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button to stay updated on all our Marvelous content. That's it for now, but don't worry, because we will catch you all in the next one. Well then, goodbye!